We will proceed this morning with our commission meeting. We'll start off with an invocation by Verda Rost. We'll have a pledge of allegiance by Shelley Hallisey, and then I will give the thought of the day. So, Verda.
Our Father in heaven, we're so grateful for the blessings that Thou hast bestowed upon us, especially for living in this land of America under the Constitution which Thou gave to us, which would ensure us to have our freedom and liberty and be able to enjoy the fruits of our own labors. We're grateful for the moisture that Thou hast sent us and ask Thee to bless us that we will have enough water to supply for our needs in the coming months. We're so grateful for all the blessings that Thou hast given us for our freedom and for our liberty and for our families. We would ask Thee this day to bless these good men whom we have elected to serve us in various capacities. We ask Thee to bless, strengthen, and protect them, and bless them with wisdom and with discernment, that those decisions that they make will be in accordance with Thy mind and will, and will be fair and equitable in governing the people here in our county. We're so grateful for everything that Thou hast blessed us with, and we would ask for Thy special protection that we might preserve and maintain these freedoms which Thou hast given us. Help us to be a more righteous people, to remember to obey Thy commandments which will keep us free. Help us to recognize Thy hand in all things, and remember to be appreciative of Thee and of Thy Son and the sacrifice He made in our benefit. We say these things most humbly and with gratitude in our hearts for all these things that Thou hast given us. And we say this in the name of Thy, our Savior and Redeemer, even Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Verda.
Thank you.
Please rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I got a thought today, just kind of a small one. It says, people take different roads seeking fulfillment and happiness. Just because they're not on your road doesn't mean they've gotten lost. That's kind of an interesting thought, I thought. We'll move ahead to the consent items. Number one, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $219,890.04. Request for approval of warrants 318952 to 319092 in the amount of $198,986.23. Request for approval of minutes for the regular meeting held on March 3rd, 2015. Request for approval to cancel the regular meeting of the Weber County Commission for March 17th, 2015. The next meeting will be held on March 24th, 2015.
As far as the purchase orders and warrants go, they were both quite small this week. For the purchase orders, 60% of all of them came in the form of a PO for the library commissioning of the new building. We also had about 9% for paramedic extraction equipment, about 9% for library computer equipment and books. Under the warrants, the actual checks that we paid out this week, again, it was a smaller check run of $200,000. And it was spread out pretty evenly. 8%, the largest one was 9% for some equipment maintenance for our roads department, and we spent out $17,000, or about 8% on the 4300 West Development Project. And then about 12%, sorry, this is the largest, 23,000, 12% for library, which went to building maintenance and books.
Awesome.
And there's an expectation that the library with the capital improvement project will continue to probably be the heaviest lift on
Yep.
most of these warrants and POs.
Yep, I agree.
Well, I'll make a motion that we adopt the consent items.
I second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Go to our first action item number 1. Request for approval of real estate contracts for the sale of property located at 701 West 12th Street to the State of Utah Division of Facilities and Construction Management for the Youth Detention Center. And our presenter.
You've got the wrong agenda, Matthew.
There you go.
Okay. I got the wrong one. Thanks. Sorry about that. Okay, request for approval of a resolution of the County Commissioners of Weber County appointing members to the Eden Park Service Area Board. And Brooke, go ahead.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Commissioners. Oh, that's quite all right. Making me nervous for a minute. I was thinking I didn't have the right agenda. Today I'm bringing before you 2 vacancies for the Eden Park Service Area Board. The current chair, Nicholas Frower, and the vice chair, Mindy Lance Quinn's terms have expired. The notices were posted and published according to the state statute, and we received 4 applications for those vacancies. We received Nicholas Frower's application reapplying, Mindy Lance Quinn's application reapplying, and Matthew Ashton and Jared Hayes. These are 4-year terms, and they will run through December 31st, 2018.
Sounds good. What's your pleasure, Commissioner?
Well, reached out to the community a little bit and talked to some individuals. Apparently there's some different things going on up there with the parks. And so my recommendation at this time would be to reappoint Nicholas Froer and Minnie Lance Quinn back to the board to finish the projects that they've started.
Okay, I would second that recommendation. Any questions or anything else you want to say on that?
Nope.
That would be Resolution 21.
Okay. So I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 21, reappointing Nicholas Froer, and Mindy Lance Quinn to the Eden Park Service Area Board.
I second that. Be a
Commissioner-
roll call vote?
Commissioner Ebert,
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye. Okay, that passes unanimously. Next on our agenda is a request for approval of a resolution, the County Commissioners of Weber County appointing members to the Liberty Park Service Area Board.
Right.
Brooke.
So on this one, we have 5 vacancies for this board. With that, we're going to stagger those terms, and there will be 3 of them as 4-year terms and 2 of them as 2-year terms. All of the board members are actually expired on this board. And so we received 10 applications for this one. I can go through the names, or you have them in your packets.
I've got them in my
Okay.
packet. So I just think so there's 5 openings. There's 10 people that have applied. Of the 10 that have applied, they're husband and wives. Husband and wife applied for all 10. So 5 husbands, 5 wives have applied. So Commissioner Ebert did a little research to see who to put on the board or how to set this board up. So he'll give us some recommendations.
So when we looked at the board, Ross Mertlich and Kevin Phipps have been on the board for the longest. So the recommendation at that point would be to reappoint them for the 2-year terms, and then Mr. Brett Hansen, Michael Rhodes, and Kennedy Croft for a 4-year term. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Sounds good. Do you want to make that in the form of a resolution?
I will. So I make a motion that we adopt resolution number 22, appointing Brett Hansen, Michael Rhodes, and Kennedy Croft to a 4-year term, and appointing Ross Mertlich and Kevin Phipps to the 2-year term on the Liberty Park Service Area Board.
I second that. Be a roll call?
Commissioner Ebert?
Aye.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye. Thank you.
you.
Unanimous. Thank you, Brooke. Okay, we'll move on to number 3. Now it's a request for approval of a real estate contract for the sale of property located at 701 West 12th Street to the State of Utah Division of Facilities and Construction Management for the Youth Detention Center. Kevin McLeod.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Thank you.
It's good to be here with you. As you know, this has been quite an ongoing process in trying to get this contract put together to sell that property to the state for the Juvenile Detention Center. I'm sure you've had a chance to review the proposed contract. I would be happy to answer any questions, but I would highlight that the major changes that we've made in the contract at this point would be to change the selling price from the original proposed by the state of $1.09 million. There was another evaluation of the property done by Valbridge, and the value came back at $1.225 million. So that is a change in the contract. Also, in a section of the contract, it identifies an amount of money that the state would be willing to participate in the construction of the new roadway off 12th Street. They called the new east entrance road. They originally proposed $150,000 as their contribution. We've changed that to $250,000, and so those would be probably the major changes in that contract to send back to the state. So just asking for your review and approval to forward that contract to the state.
So when we purchased this property, we purchased it over a year ago, under the anticipation that they'd build their youth detention center there, which the state is planning on doing. We needed to move forward and do it to help our neighbor, Merritt Slaterville, to be able to get there. They had a business that wanted to come in. We had to do a land swap and some things. So this has been over a year. We've been working on trying to get this finalized because we put the cash outlay out, the county did, to buy the property for the state facility. So this is great to be able to get this back, and Kevin's done a lot of work on this, and it's been a moving target, so to speak, in the last year to get this together. So we appreciate your work there. So,
you know, one clarification too, I'm glad you mentioned what you did that brought to mind. There's been some question on why we would sell property that we paid over $2 million for $1.225. This is not the entire property. This is just 7.5 acres, or an approximate 7.5 acres of that total 11-acre parcel.
correct. And so the frontage, which is the frontage on 12th Street, is all our property still. We've kept that, and then decisions will be made eventually what to do with that property. So, all right.
Do we have any questions from legal? Chris, is there any issues with this contract at all that you can see?
No, nothing that I see.
Really quickly for me, this concept of the center is completely different than what we're doing right now. It's a consolidation of services. And with this new juvenile reinvestment, I think this fits perfectly into what we're trying to do, especially with our youth. So I can't support this any more than I already have. I think it's a great idea. Specific to the 1.09 compared to 1.225, I think that the reevaluation of the property needs to be appropriate. As government buys private property, we need to make sure that we're paying what the property value is worth. So I would make a motion this time. What contract are we on?
55.
I would make a motion that we adopt contract number 55, which is approval of real estate contract for the sale of property located at 701 West 12th Street to the State of Utah Division of Facilities and Construction for management of the youth center.
I second that. Any more discussion on that? Not, we'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Next, thank you,
Commissioner.
Kevin. Next is request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Wooden Creations to provide a chainsaw carving presentation at the 2015.
Can I just really quickly tell Kevin, thank you. It's been a tremendous amount of work. I didn't get a chance to say that before you turned and sprinted away. In putting this together and in following that contract, so thank you very much. Sorry, Matthew.
Weber County Fair. So it must be fair time again.
5 months, we'll be right in the thick of it.
We're right there again,
We
aren't
are, yes.
So
This-
it's like, go ahead.
The Wooden Creations, I think both of you have seen it. It is a gentleman that we hire from out of California. He comes in and does chainsaw artwork, and then we sell that at an auction at the end of the fair. And we pay him $4,000, but we've always recouped that, usually plus more. So the board feels like until he doesn't pay for himself, we might as well keep bringing him back. It seems to be a huge attraction. So we're asking for your approval on this contract for $4,000.
Sounds good.
It's one of my favorites. I really enjoy watching him. It's amazing.
It is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, so.
I think I'd lose an arm or a leg if I tried to do it. Or, fingers.
Be your pleasure.
I'll make a motion that we approve contract number 56, approving the contract between Weber County and Wooden Creations to provide chainsaw carving at the 2015 Weber County Fair.
I second that motion. Any more discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Action item number 5. You're going to be there for a while.
I know.
Request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Broken Heart Rodeo Company to produce the rodeo for the 2015 Weber County Fair.
Yes, this has been a long time standing event at the county fair that we hold an adult rodeo the first night of the fair. So that will be August 5th. His fee this year is $7,500. It has gone up a few $100s. And then I want to point out that we also pay him $12 per timed event per run. So that's an additional cost on it. It's still cheaper than you can get another contractor to come in and do the rodeo. Plus Ben has a really long-standing relationship with the Golden Spike. So again, the board feels like this would be a benefit to the county fair, and it's for $7,500 plus the $12 per run for timed events.
If I can add again, I want to just point out for those of you who are just here and hearing about these contracts are approved and looked at by the fair board, and all of these events then
And the attorney.
and the attorneys, they come from the fair board with recommendations
Absolutely,
after they go
yes.
through legal. So it's just not something that you've thought up. It's something that's been gone through an entire process already.
Yes.
Sounds good.
So I'll make a motion that we adopt contract number 57 by and between Weber County and the Broken Heart Rodeo Company to produce a rodeo for the 2015 Weber County Fair.
And I'll second it. Any more discussion on that? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Number 6, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Animal Specialties to provide a petting zoo at the 2015 Weber County Fair.
Again, recommendation coming from the county fair board that we have the animal specialties back. They are the people that are in the parking lot right there between the riding arena and the Golden Spike. They bring these huge tents and have animals there that you can pet and feed and have pictures taken. They do pony rides. It's been a huge attraction. We actually didn't do it one year and had a lot of people angry. So the board has requested that we bring them back again, and the contract's for $5,000.
Thank you. Any questions on that?
Nope. I'll make a motion we approve contract number 58 by and between Weber County and the Animal Specialties to provide a petting zoo at the 2015 Weber County Fair.
I second it. Any more discussion? Not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And last but not least with the fair stuff, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Live Music in Vegas, Inc. to have the Fab perform at the 2015 Weber County Fair.
Yes, a few of our fair board members have been researching some entertainment, and due to the saturation of the market and the cost of entertainers, we've really tried to go a different route. And they have come up with this attraction. They are going to do a tribute of the Beatles, It's a contract for $9,800. They're asking for a deposit, and they will be on Friday, August 7th at 8 o'clock at night in front of the grandstand on the racetrack. Are
Great.
there any other questions?
No, that'll be great. I'm excited about that.
And from my understanding, the Beatles and that genre of music was picked to kind of bring in different types of people,
Correct.
different demographics into the fair to get them the fair experience to kind of promote better attendance. So I think it's a great
Correct.
idea.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion that we approve contract number 59 by and between Weber County and Live Music in Vegas, Inc., to have the FAB perform at the 2015 Weber County Fair.
I'll second that. Any more discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you,
We're going to
Commissioner.
see you regularly between
Yes, you
now
will.
and August.
Not next week. You canceled me.
Yes, we did next week, so
Thanks.
we'll see you. Thanks, Jen. Number 8, request for Weber County Recreation, Arts, Museum, and Parks Board for approval of the 2015 grant recommendations. So we have Holland Wilbanks, who's the Public Relations Director, and we have Mr. Hall, who's the Chair of our Ramp Board here with us.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Sir.
To start off, we'd like to just begin with a quick presentation about what RAMP is and what we were looking at this year, what the board was faced with all the wonderful applications that came in. And while they're pulling that up, I'd just like to recognize that we do have some RAMP members, board members in the audience, and thank Jeannie Hall and Danette Pulley and Meg Nesbitt and obviously George Hall for being here today supporting RAMP. And it's been an incredible opportunity for me to get to be a part of this.
Also, while that's warming up, let me, as chair of RAMP, let me acknowledge the great contributions that come to the RAMP effort from the clerk auditor's office. We have a compliance audit report that's provided by Mr. Hatch's office, and it's a great resource tool to us. We use that in all of our endeavors. So thank you very much. There's been a great deal of improvement in the audit function, and this is just a matter of making sure that the funds that are awarded are spent appropriately. And I'd also like to thank the efforts of the county attorney's office. Mr. Allred, thank you so much. They provide great legal advice to the RAMP committee, and they're present. A liaison from the county attorney's office is present during our the consideration that we undertake in our endeavors. And also Shelley, who's hidden back here behind the computer monitor, Shelley Hallisey. We could not do what we do without the help of Shelley. And then also our thanks to Holland Wilbanks. Likewise, we couldn't accomplish what we set out to do without the great support that we received from the county. Okay.
You may want to thank Weber County IT also.
Yes.
As they work on the problem.
Okay. Certainly, we wouldn't want to leave them out. And a word about our committee. They work tirelessly. I think as the commissioners have observed, we've spent a lot of time in the conference room upstairs on the 3rd floor. And sometimes you have to kind of shut the doors so that the rest of the county staff can get work done while we're deliberating, because that gets a little noisy in there at times as we hash things out. But thanks so much to our great committee.
This has been a great project. You know, we have opportunities to fund a lot of things that a lot of these cities and these organizations normally wouldn't have funding for. So it's been a great opportunity. And as I have a list that I've been over in the last 8 years that lists everything we've financed and from this committee that they've done, and it's been tremendous about the total amount of money there. And in my list, as of the end of last year, we have spent almost $26 million to different projects in the community, and so they've been just great. Been a great project. You know, we have opportunities to fund a lot. Wow,
That's what you sound like, by the
that
way.
was a blast from the past somewhere. Literally.
4 quick slides, but I just think it's important that everybody recognizes where the money comes from. And essentially, if you look up at this slide with us, in fact, this was passed just this in 2014, that a 1 cent tax on every $10 that's spent in the county goes to WACOG, and that is equivalent to about $12 to every household, and it generates close to $3 million in the county for us to use for ramp projects. If you want to click to the next one. The ramp board is made up of 15 members, and this is where I think sometimes people don't really understand how the board works. There's a majors category, there's an arts and museums category, and then there's a parks and recreation category. And within those categories, there's 4 board members and then a chair and a vice chair that also weighs in on that. So if you look up, the advisory board is made up of 4 members plus the chair and the 2 vice chairs of both the arts and parks and the arts and museums and the parks and recs. And so that's how it's voted out and these recommendations are made. The major projects are all projects over $200,000, and then anything under $200,000 would go into the other 2 categories. So as far as the funding goes, and we'll just go through these numbers really quickly. Again, the ramp tax generated about $3.1 million this year. We have you subtract out the administration fee and our easy grants, which are projects under $2,000, and $60,000 is set aside for those projects. And then last year we actually had $400,000 that was returned for projects that weren't able to get completed within the time frame, and so that money goes back into the ramp pot, and we're able to use it this year. And so we ended up with about $3.4 million that we could apply to all these wonderful projects that came into ramp. If you'll click to the next slide. And then that gets divided once again. So 1/3 of the money goes to the majors, which are those projects over $200,000, and then 2/3 goes to the arts and museums and the parks and recs. And again, if you look at the majors category, we do have one legacy project, which right now is the ice sheet. That's a Weber State and Weber County project, which has been an amazing project, but it's a year-over-year funding commitment that the ramp board recommended, and has been a great project. So that left us with just about $840,000 in the major category. If you'll click it one more time, Javis. We had $3.7 million come in for request, and only $840,000 that we were able to give out within the projects. You'll look over at the arts and museums and the parks and recs, which was 2/3 of the funding, and then each municipality gets $1 towards their population for each city, and that right now is equivalent to about $240,000, less our free summer Saturdays, which is an incredible program. A number of different organizations use this to be able to host students and families for summers for free to come during the summer, to come in different Saturdays and see their facilities like Dinosaur Park and Treehouse and things like that. So it's been a great thing throughout the county. That left us with almost $2 million that got split up between the 2 categories. So you can see we had about $980,000. And if you'll click those again, you can see the request that came in. 1.6 came in arts and museums, and then again, Javis, and 2.4 in parks and recs, which was really unusual this year. Typically that number is about the same. We had an unusually high number of parks and recs recommendations come in. So I just wanted to go over this quickly so that people can understand how the funding is allocated, and then also see what the board is up against when they see the amount of wonderful projects throughout the county that comes in, and the limited funding that they have available to grant out. And I'll turn the rest of the time over to George to talk about the projects.
Okay.
George, if I could just
Yes,
shoot
sir.
really quickly, and that is a statutory requirement. That
Right.
funding allocation and how it's broken up isn't a ramp decision or a county decision. That's
State.
required through the state. And we need to make sure people understand that, because sometimes people want to change that depending on what is requested more in 1 year or less in 1 year, and that's not something that the ramp board just makes a decision on. It's a state statute and requirement.
That's true. That's true. As the committee goes through the various committees, there's actually 3 subcommittees that consider these, as Holland mentioned, the majors, and then 2 separate committees for arts and museums, parks and recreation. They go through and look very, very closely at the grant application itself. They took a look at the audit report that I mentioned earlier to take a look at how those municipalities or nonprofit organizations have handled the funds that they've received in the past, whether reporting has been done in a timely manner, whether the projects have been completed on time, and also if adequate ramp recognition is in the way of signage is attributed to each of those projects. So that's something that the committee looks at very closely, is past experience of the way funds have been spent. We also look at whether there's matching funds that come in. Commissioner Bell, when you mentioned $26 million of ramp funds that have been allocated over the history of ramp, there's also matching dollars that have come in from other sources that probably has a multiplier effect of close to 2. So it's a phenomenal amount of money that has been invested into our community. So that's something that's highly graded, is the degree to which matching funds are being brought into the project. And then we also look at the geographic diversity within the county. If we take a very close look to make sure that funding is provided to all of the municipalities. That's certainly in the Parks and Rec area. So we take a great deal of effort to make sure that that's fairly addressed. And so anyway, we have here to present the list that's contained in the meeting agenda, and for both for the majors category, arts and museums, and the recreation and parks. So we submit that respectfully for your consideration.
A lot of hard decisions to make there, isn't there?
It's not an easy job. There's a lot of agonizing, and because there's so many great applications that come to RAMP, and some unfortunately were not funded this year. But we hope that those all of those entities aren't disheartened, that they'll return to RAMP again in the fall when they start to be, their thoughts on what sort of grant applications to submit, and then and work hard to provide good grant applications and to fund great projects. And certainly RAMP will, the RAMP committee will assess those again next year.
So one of the things that I see just in what little involvement as I've seen them work through it, I think some of our folks, we do a really great job training them. If they'll come to the training, people don't realize that money has to be used in that year. And that's why you saw a bunch of money coming back, because they weren't able to spend it or get the matching they thought they had, or things like that. Or they put together a grant for something that wouldn't happen till the future. And it's a couple of years down the line, and they're putting together grants now. So the folks that I've noticed from the RAMP committee, everyone that I've heard that have dealt with RAMP, the committee people and the volunteers on that are just phenomenal. You just need to call them. You need to meet up with one and go talk to them and tell them what you're looking for, what you want to do, and they will more than help you through that process. Our staff here at the county, the RAMP folks, will get you where you need to be there. So I thought it was a great project this year. You got a bunch of great things on the project. I'm going to make one mention, is the Far West City is got a grant coming on. They're putting in they've had some matching dollars coming in. I see the mayor from Far West here and one of his council folks, is that they have never gone and done grant applications really in the past. As I look through the list, they've only had a few $1,000s worth of grant applications. It hasn't been something their city's pressed, and the new mayor there has really come on board with this. And last year they put in for it and didn't get very far with it. And this year they had a chance to sit down and work a little closer with the RAMP committee and get their ducks in a row, if you want to say. They're putting in a pond, so I guess we can say ducks in a row. Putting in a pond and some things in a fishing area. So as that was put there, and then you see these things starting to come together. And I notice that when I go around the county, our ramp sign on things. I bet you 99% of the people don't notice it, but I notice it when you go to something or you go to an event in town or an event somewhere and you see the ramp sign, and that is what this money is doing in that. So I really appreciate the committee and all the hard work you put in. It's been a great project, so thank you. Thank you, and thanks to your committee.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And just to add to this, to the process, the ramp board makes this recommendation after they go through all the projects, and then WACOG has an opportunity, and they gave it the thumbs up and said, we think these are great projects, and now we bring it to you guys as the commission to give it its final approval.
Great, thank you.
If I could just add really quickly, some may not be aware that each of these projects is assigned a liaison from the RAMP committee who will then reach out and assist in answering questions. And I think that's important. The assistance is there. RAMP has done a tremendous job in creating an organization that provides training to those who are going to write grants, and then provides a liaison to go out and talk to them about the projects. There's a tremendous amount of outreach that the RAMP board does to kind of create a better system to get these projects in the pipeline to get some type of funding. What has happened, and this is from Mayor Dickamore from Far West, and he expressed this in WACOG, that their first kind of out of the gate grant, in his words, were a little unprepared, realized that, and this next year really ramped up, and it made a pretty big difference in how they put their project together. Once they got in contact with, RAMP committee members and were aware of all the training and liaison opportunities that were out there. And so I commend RAMP for creating a process that's very thorough and is very user-friendly. And I think they've done a great job. We've also had contact with the RAMP board and talked to them about the function of the county in RAMP itself. And we have chosen, and I think previous commissions have chosen, to allow RAMP to act, autonomous of the county and any county influences, and we've provided services, as was noted before, with the clerk auditors and the attorneys and staff to assist them in completing, the RAMP funding and allowing that to be a very clean process. We've talked to many of the RAMP board members about that, and they've expressed their concern to make sure that continues. And we're committed to that, and we're committed to have a process that is which allows those projects to be on their own merit. And I think we've been very successful, and I think RAMP's been very successful at that. So I commend the RAMP board for all the hours and the work, but I also commend them for the years that they've created this process that's a very good process.
Yes, Commissioner Ebert, I as chair, greatly appreciate the independence with which RAMP functions and, as you say, the autonomy. We are dealing with tax dollars that the voters themselves have voted into place. It's voters taxing, allowing this tax to exist. So these, to us, serving on the RAMP committee, are sacred dollars, and I know that they are sacred to you as well. So we greatly appreciate the autonomy that we're able to exercise, and the independence that we have to make these assessments, send the liaisons out to meet with the various parties, and come back and deliberate in a public fashion, but without any undue influence from outside sources. So that's something that's very precious to the RAMP process, and we greatly appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you. Does any of the RAMP board, come on up, any of the RAMP folks that would like to come up and say anything, we'd love to hear from you.
I didn't know if that was out of order, and I apologize if
It's
is,
not.
but thank you for recognizing my little hand waving. I just wanted to express my appreciation. My name is Jeannie Hall for RAMP. I think it's one of the most incredible things that's ever happened in Weber County, and as George and and Holland and others have mentioned it, has definitely funded wonderful projects. But I wanted to make note and have in your minutes or whatever of this meeting, this is the final year that Meg Nesbitt will finish her term, and as a person who's been on ramp for several years, I want to publicly express my appreciation to her for the incredible mind that she has and the organizational processing that she has helped the ramp board to develop. I think under her leadership, and George has done an amazing job this year following in Meg's shoes, but I want it publicly noted that Meg Nesbitt has been an incredible member of the ramp board and used her great skills and talents to make the process even more wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we echo that. I don't know if she was originally on the ramp board. Were you, Meg?
I was on the steering committee.
On the steering committee that set that up. That was 9 years ago. So it's come a long way. So great. We echo that totally.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeannie.
I agree, and as I've kind of worked my way around this process, when I have a question, everybody says, well, ask Meg.
That's true.
So she is a fountain of knowledge, and we express that appreciation.
That's
also.
true. I think that ramp has been a progression of improvement. It's evolved to a point where today it's functioning quite well. And we thank, beginning with Sesh, the original chair of ramp, and then following that was Dave Holmstrom, Meg Nesbitt. Ramp has improved at each step of the way, but certainly in the means of the organizational structure of ramp and the way in which we make our assessments of projects, I owe a debt of gratitude to Meg, and I just hope that I'm able to impart some degree of improvement to the ramp process. I'm not sure quite where that will be. That remains to be seen.
Great. Thank you. So do we have a contract number or?
There, it's number 60 through 124. No?
These aren't contracts. This is just presenting it and approving the projects, and it'll go forward to be in contract form, not come back as contracts.
Okay.
So you just want to make us a motion to approve the request? Yes. So I'll make a motion that we approve the request from the Weber County Recreation, Arts, Museum, and Parks Board for approval of the 2015 grant recommendations.
I'll second that request. If there's no more discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to our next item on our agenda, which is public comment. You come up to the microphone, take 3 minutes. As soon as our clerk gets ready for us. State your name and where you live.
And wait for the timer.
Wait for the timer.
You can start without the timer.
You're
All right.
fine.
Go ahead.
Douglas Hanson. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm from West Weber. Again, the project I want to talk about, or subject, is about the Little Weber Cutoff Project for flood mitigation. And I want to tell you that I found out some new information. I did some calculations. I had some engineers assist with calculations. I found something else this past week that changed those calculations. Wasn't aware that at the end of this canal there's a dam. Apparently a water dam. In other words, water going into it is going to leave slower and is be held up, so that's going to back up. And so, of course, that requires a larger facility. Well, I didn't know that, and it's been a lot of weeks I've talked about this, but wasn't aware of that for quite some time. So that requires some change in calculations, but the amount of change is subject to a judgmental call, depending on how you calculate. But I wasn't aware of that. And then also understand that originally the design of this canal was to be 10 feet deep, and it had a dam at the end of it because the bottom of the canal would be lower than the Little Weber channel it was to flow into, and so it had to be redesigned to 8 feet, which, and I thought this was a perfect design, and obviously it has some flaws that had to be corrected. So in that regards, I wanted to give you alternatives and give you other calculations to let you know that if we can better facilitate and save taxpayer dollars and save effort and save impact on us, I'd want to do that and offer other alternatives. I have one alternative I sent to the county engineer this morning, that may be of good value, maybe not, but at least wanted to have it reviewed and evaluated for that. But anyway, there are several alternatives we suggested. We'd still like to have that reconsidered, look at that before we get too far into it to see if a design change is possible. We still want to meet with the county. We still want to meet and work with the county on details of our situation. And I'd like to continue that to let you know that changes have occurred and we're still working the issues.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
If I could really quick, Doug, we just wanted to let you know is as you came to us with those questions and concerns, we were in contact with the engineers, and it sounds like we've got you some of those answers, how to address those concerns. We just wanted you to know that we continue to have open dialogue, and we hear your concerns, and we're working through the process to get those answers to you.
Okay, and we want to continue to get information exchanged so
Yes,
we
sir.
can work out those details.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Next, please, state your name and what city you're from.
Larry Hanson Warren. About 3 weeks to a month ago, had a meeting here with the Fishing Game in Ogden Bay. You were praising them on their habitat rehabilitation out at Ogden Bay. They were praising you for your contributions to rehabilitation. Yet the county has came onto my property and destroyed most and half my duck nests. My property during the study was shown to have 30 times more wood ducks hatched than Ogden Bay. And yet the county has delayed and not come forth and done their promise. They said, what we take out, we'll put back. We'll make you whole again. None of this has happened, and that was 15 months ago. The county, Lance Peterson, your engineer, also said, yes, we'll rebuild it. Yes, we'll put them back. That hasn't happened. Several attempts to meet with the commission, the engineer, and Lance Peterson have been unsuccessful. Therefore, we're asking for financial compensation, which will be used to hire someone to come back in and put this habitat back. This is an ongoing project. Probably won't be completed soon, but we'd like the commission's help on replacing the damages they did during the 2013, I believe it was, that they destroyed this property. We can get the commission's help, we can have this rebuilt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, anyone else? Public comment. Anyone else from the public would like to comment? Going once. Going twice. Thought of the day next week. Is that you? Thought of the day, Commissioner Ebert? Or does that be Commissioner Gibson?
Commissioner Gibson.
In 2 weeks, Commissioner Gibson will be the thought of the week. Pledge allegiance. Anybody? Any volunteers for the pledge? Jared Anderson. Jared Anderson will give our pledge. We had next on the agenda a request for a closed meeting, discuss strategy relating or pending intimate litigation, and we are not going to have that today, so we will go to item J.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We're adjourned.
Thank you, Verda.
Thank you.